Life is sweet. Let it sweep you off your feet.
Hi, I'm Allie, and this is Find Your Joy. And I'm pretty excited because the other night I went to McPherson Theater with a friend of mine, and we saw a fabulous show, Hot Flashes, and the headliner was none other than Syd Bosel, pardon me. And I invited her, and my gosh, if she didn't say yes. Say hi.
Hi. Hi, Allie.
I, you were my greatest surprise that night, and I'd already seen you. I knew who you were because I'd seen you. I actually saw you on Canada's Got Talent, and was pretty blown away by your. It's only 2 minutes, but you kind of know you're going to really like somebody, and then there you were at the back, and I went and asked you, and you graciously said yes. So thanks for that.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure, Allie. Thanks for your interest.
Oh. Well, just try not to be stalker status, and we'll be okay with that then, right?
Okay, I'll watch for that.
You should. So, first of all, getting into comedy, was that something that kind of happened later for you? How long have you? When did this occur?
Okay, so I tried to do stand up when my kids were little. I wanted to do something that where I could find joy. And I just couldn't do the scene, because you have to be out late at night doing shows and stuff. And in the early 90s, mid 90s, it was kind of a different scene than it is now. And I felt old back then to be doing it. And so you can imagine how I feel now about it, but somehow it doesn't bother me as much at all actually now. But I did feel kind of awkward back then, but that was a different time in my life. So I tried to do it then in the mid 90s, but I couldn't do the late nights, being out till midnight, and then a kid doesn't sleep through the night, or they get up early and everything. It was really trying. And then I was diagnosed with breast cancer in December 2013, and I spent all of 2014 and most of 2015 in treatment. And so I thought, well, I better do stuff that I've been wanting to do while I still can, and because you just don't know, and that sort of kicked my butt when I had cancer. So I took some classes in stand-up, and it culminated in a showcase, and then I kept taking classes, and then I started going to open mics, and yeah, so I actually started in earnest in 2015. Yeah.
So I've seen, like, around town, I've seen what are they, like different classes for things like oh gosh, when you do it on the spot, I can't remember the word.
Improv.
Thank you. I've seen things like that. I've always thought that would be interesting to do, just to do it. But I'm wondering too, like, open mics, right? So as a singer, I've done a lot of open mic things, and that can be a little bit nervy at times, right? Going to a jam or something, walking in with players that you don't know. But doing stand up in an open mic, is that as terrifying as it sounds to me?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Especially, like I started comedy in Vancouver, where there's a very active comedy scene and lots of options of places to go different nights of the week. So you kind of get sort of conditioned to, I don't want to say failure, but distress.
Opportunities we like to go.
Yeah. Well, at the beginning, it is truly distress. At this point in time of my career, it is definitely opportunity, because I understand better now that, honestly, and it's not a cliche, that every time you go up, you learn something else. This is something new. And it's not a metaphor, it's not an expression, it's true. Unless, like, if you want to learn from that experience, then you will. If you decide, oh, I sucked, and just that, then that's all you'll learn, that you sucked. But you could also, offer. What I like to do is ask other comics to watch and pay attention and give me feedback, particularly comics with more experience, and that's super helpful. There's a couple of what we call tags, little bits at the end of a joke or somewhere in the middle, tags that other comics have given me because I've asked them to watch and tell me what they think, and so they've given me ideas. And so open mics are a time for learning, in my opinion, and practicing. It's a very interesting thing that you can write a joke and have it'll have what we call it a premise, and then it'll be like a page long, and it ends up being like a 30-second joke, which is a little bit painful because it took you probably hours or weeks to figure out how to write that joke. Because one of the things I like about comedy is a well-placed emphasis on a word and so on. And your presentation, I don't know what a real pro would say, but your presentation or your delivery of the joke is, I would say, at least half of the writing of the joke. Like you saw me in Hot Flash Comedy, right, at the McPherson, and the pauses and the facial expressions and everything. That's how I deliver jokes. Not everybody does that, and those get as much laughs as the words do, right?
Yeah, totally. That's and it also helps us to what I was just thinking. Okay, so yes, so when I see a comedian and the way that you deliver, how that works for me is, first of all, I have a processing issue with my brain, but that's fine. That's besides the point. But when you there's a moment when there's a stillness moment, it gets us, we're all now on this, like we have an opportunity to all be there and collectively get it, which sometimes when there's somebody that says ping, 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 and there's no pause, sometimes it's not that the joke's not hilarious. I'm not there yet. I'm still back on these other words. So I think that in a way that how you did that, it gets us, we're all there by the time you do it. And then of course you have your facial expressions. This will be forever for me.
I know. I've had women walk past me and go like this to me. And I love it so much. It's like our little secret,
It is.
Very cute.
And we all know exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think that like there's comedians that talk really fast, and that's part of what's funny is the way that they deliver. I don't talk fast myself. Like I don't think I could even do that. You have to. I was having a conversation last night with one of the showrunners on the island that we did a show together, and what was the metaphor he gave? That you have to, as a comic, you have to adjust to the room, and that's like a threshold that you go over at some point in your career, that you don't just say your thing the same way in every audience. Like, and I did learn this of the hard and crappy way of what we call shit the bed. Like you just do lousy. The audience doesn't respond, and so you learn to do the same material, but in a different way. Like a couple nights ago, I was in a room where there was like a table in front of the stage. It was a restaurant right in front of the stage, and then everybody else was way down on either side.
Oh,
So you have to talk to the people at the back over there and talk to the people at the back over there and make sure they're coming with you
right.
along. Because otherwise they're so far away they start to chat or something, so you lose them, right? So you have to talk to them and wave to them and get them to wave back or whatever, and bring everybody sort of engaged with the comedy. And so these are all things that you learn in time. There's things that you learn in class, or you learn from experience, or you learn from other comics. As long as you're open to support and feedback,
Yeah.
it's truly you can't do comedy, I don't think anyway, in a silo.
Mm.
You know, you have to have mentorship, in my opinion, and be open to feedback. And you know, I mean, the subject, finding joy. So this learning these things is what brings me great joy. Like the finite ways to finish a punchline, or to move my body or my face in a way that brings an added laugh. Like those things, oh, that brings me joy when I nail that stuff down, you know? So that's really cool. And the other thing that I like so much about comedy is community. Meeting other comics. I mean, you're a musician, so you know it's like you meet on a different level, hey? And you don't have to explain anything when I'm with other comics. Like
Right.
everybody knows what being on the road is like, and you know, missing, you know, celebrations for your family or whatever because you're on the road. Um, um, you know, responsibilities back home, or just the weirdness of being of a comic, like the way your brain works. And
Right. And I think too, like there's, you know, even if you even think of a, I don't know, a solo performer musically, there's a band, right? Like there's something there's there. But a comedian to me is somebody you go stand out there and people love or hate you. There doesn't seem to ever be I don't know if anybody just is like, meh, or they seem to be like, when I listen to people talk about comics, there's it's so hot and cold, and
mm,
I've seen people like, I think I'm too insecure to do that. Like I just, you know, to sit there and then there's the stillness to like you said, like, you know, you lob one out there and it just goes crickets.
yeah,
That's
so
gotta
painful.
be I don't, you know, it's just guessing for me, but I'm just guessing that you have to like quickly pull it together and get to the next one, or you're in trouble.
Yeah, yeah. That speaks to not being able to deliver the same material the same way.
Ah,
Um, yeah. Oh, yeah. I feel like last night I didn't bomb, but I sure didn't feel good about it. And oh man, it's really sitting with me, you know. I almost want to give the producer their money back. Like I just feel so bad. Like you know, people said I did great, or I was great, or it was good at least. You know, people are saying you were good, but different people respond differently. Like I have this thing myself, this affliction where I laugh too late in a when I'm listening to other people. I laugh, everybody laughs, and then I laugh. And so, you know, different people respond differently, and age groups I think matters as well, demographic.
right.
So yeah, it's I the very first time I did a real tour, it was in 2019 I think, and no 2018, and it was I think 4 or 5 shows on the road, and I was just doing like 5 to 7. I was the first after the MC, and it was very thrilling for me, big theaters and stuff. And there was this man in the front row of one of the shows. It was like the third show, and we'd been killing it for those shows. And then this man sitting like this, with his arms crossed in front
Right.
of him in the front row, and he didn't crack a smile the whole way. And it was that guy that got into my head more than anybody else. And it was virtually the whole rest of the room was laughing, but that guy distracted me, and I couldn't get past that, and I came off feeling lousy. And then the more experienced comics and my mentor said that guy is in every audience. If you look hard enough, you're going to see somebody just like him sitting somewhere. And unfortunately, they're often in the front row for some reason where you can see them. And you got to play to the rest of the room. And this was interesting to me that I've shared with other people. If you find a group of people that are laughing, you practically play to them. Like, you talk a bit over here, but you play to them, because they'll keep laughing, and then other people will laugh because it's contagious, right?
Yeah.
So it's super interesting to me to learn these realities of performing,
Right. And
Yeah.
it makes sense energetically, right? When they're with anyone who's ever, I think a person doesn't even have to have been necessarily in front of audiences. We all know what it's like to walk into a room, and there's just sometimes the energy feels great, sometimes not so
Yeah.
much. And if I lean over to the energy that's, this guy, which is real easy to do because it's glaring, it's like, look right here, this is going to be where it's going to suck, because it's like a vortex. It just sucks it all right out of you, right?
It's really interesting. Yeah. My husband rarely comes to shows, and in Vancouver, I used to go to a lot of stand-up because comics can go in for free and just sit in the back and watch other people and learn from it and hang out with your peers and stuff. And one time my husband came with me to a show, and we were in the audience, like at a table, because he was with me, and he sat with his arms crossed. And I said, dude, uncross your arms, man. You have no idea what that does to us. And it's just a way of sitting,
Yeah, of course.
It's not, a defensive thing or anything. I mean, some comics will call him on it, and he'd be freaking mortified if a comic talked to him. He would be just not know what to say and stuff. But yeah, I'm very sensitive now, like when musicians are playing, or like I'm at when we were in Victoria for the McPherson show in the Inner Harbor there's people selling jewelry, right? And I'm super sensitive to, people who try to make a living out of doing stuff that's unpredictable,
Right.
Like I spend a lot more money now on people like that, like, those, the jewelry sellers and stuff like that. Like, I'm so sympathetic to them.
Yeah, because that when people pull something out of the air, creative types, right? You bring something that did not exist before, and comics do that. And to keep it fresh, because it's one thing, I can write a song and I get to keep singing that song. A comic, I'm guessing you'll have your treasured jokes but then has to be, I don't know, something new has to come along every once in a while, and you have to try that out. God, that seemed funny at home. How is that going to be like out there? I'm guessing, I don't know. I just think that's a whole other thing to me.
It's funny because I wrote this joke that I titled 11 Buckets. And it's based on the truth in that I went into my garage and looking for something, and eventually found 11 buckets in my garage. And I'm thought, what the hell are we doing with 11 buckets? Like, we just moved 4 years ago. So like, we brought 11 buckets with us, we have all the stuff we got rid of. We didn't get rid of like 4 buckets, that sort of thing. It just really blew my mind. And when I started writing about things that were profound, like my children's, my daughter going to university and coming back a feminist, and how hard that was for us. And It's nothing worse than a brand new feminist.
Yes.
Um, and and then my son's escapades as a teenager and things. Those are the things that I talked about, and then I was eventually able to. It was about 3 years in that I was finally able to talk about having had breast cancer. I couldn't do it at first. I used to tell those jokes and get really emotional. Now, not so much, but um, and then I thought, I've been writing about things that are profound to me. And then I watch comics and they're talking about, the proverbial 11 buckets. It's whatever they realized at their house. And it doesn't have to be a profound subject all the time, right?
Right.
And it's sort of everyday stuff. And so that's what I was trying to do is a little bit more like that. Like when my husband lost his phone, we realized, well, now we have no way of finding mine, right? because we can't phone my phone on his phone, so we're completely screwed if he loses his phone. So that's something that's real that happened, and it's not particularly profound. It's just
It's funny.
stupid, but also relatable. So I've been trying to do this 11 buckets joke, and I did it at the Waverly in Cumberland in an open mic, and the audience there just is so much fun, and they just thought it was hilarious. And because I'm comfortable there, I played it in my ridiculous way, and it slayed. And then I've tried it elsewhere, and they're like, "You're talking about 11 buckets? Like, what's funny about that?" There's like when you see the joke written, there's nothing funny about it. It's stupid, but with the delivery of it is what makes a difference, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense, right? It makes sense that I mean, as soon as you know what, as soon as we're going organizing, preparing, and things like this for a move, and as soon as you started talking 11 buckets, maybe it's because I'm right there right now, and you look and it's like, why? Like, why do I? It makes sense. And then in my mind, as you're talking, I'm actually thinking, well, really, 11 buckets was probably okay because they could have packed things in them when they were moving, so it makes sense that they like this is
Maybe we did.
what is
Yeah.
going on with it? It doesn't matter. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that people, the thing that, well, I don't know, me, and it's just all that matters, right? But I think that generally most of us, things that we relate to, we like, and we think they're funny. And the things that are, when you share things about your husband and you share things about your experience with cancer and things like that, I think that one of the things that for people like to know that there's a chance that no matter how hard things get, that they'll breathe again, they'll smile again, they'll laugh again. I think it's kind of why I started this whole find your joy thing, was coming out of a very, very dark time and not really being able to see a way that it would be okay. For lack of a better way to say it, I didn't, and I just thought I can't do this like that. I can't do life just so freaked out about everything. And I found one little thing that there was joy, and then I found another little thing, and then I thought I'm just going to be like the great joy hunter or something. I just want to, and I know there's other people that have those stories, and those stories connect us. And so I think that's why when people share really serious stuff, the really hard stuff, the brave people, the warriors who go before us and make a path. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for stuff like that, because that's that's not easy stuff. And if it's okay, I would say that, like, there's I don't know if this is going to make me sound like such a jerk. Sometimes like classes of, not classes, that's not the right word, I don't know what it is, but there's some things that are, I could have a friend or an auntie or there's certain relationships that are so precious and so close that it's more difficult, I think, to share things. Like my mom had dementia and Parkinson's. That was hard. It was my husband. And I'm not saying that I don't adore my mom. I'm just recognizing that it's a very different thing for a life partner
Yeah.
to me, in my mind, anyways, right? There's it in my mind, as hard as it was for my mom, and she lived with us and was with us all the time.
Mm.
There was an expectation, you know. I don't know. There was not an expectation, but you know, if somebody's 85 or 90, and it's a little bit less of a kick in the gut than a life partner, and for you to share those things, and then even sometimes throw in something that we laugh and we're almost awkward. You know, I'm not really sure if I'm allowed to laugh at that, but
Yeah.
God, it's funny.
Well, I appreciate your input with that, Allie, because those jokes about my husband are brand new. Just like not being able to talk about cancer for a few years, I have not ever disclosed Ron's issue to anyone outside of close friends and family, and and I hadn't shared it with fellow comics. One person, for whatever reason, but it was my little secret. And when I did Canada's Got Talent, um, you know, I checked, of course, with Ron and with the kids, and said, you know, this is a national platform that I would like to speak to that subject, you know, and everybody was in. They were okay with me doing that, and I've gotten a lot of feedback, and I've gotten, you know, people like yourself interested in speaking with me about that and other things. So, you know, doing that did what I wanted it to do. I wanted people to be able to have conversations about living with a partner with dementia, and here we are. And yeah, I hope it continues to lead to stuff. I was just talking, like you and I met in the lobby of the McPherson, and there I had the Parkinson's Society had a booth, had an information table. I had asked the Alzheimer's Society to do the same, and they weren't able to. But I've decided that when I do a big theater show, I want to, if there is such an outlet in the town that I'm in, I'm going to ask them if they would come and do an information table. And like I didn't having moved to Comox, I didn't know any resources. I didn't know any people other than my son and his wife here in Comox, and so I was very isolated. But when we first moved here, I was still working, but I couldn't continue to work because of Ron's needs, and not full time anyway. So now I'm mostly just doing comedy now. And so I was speaking with a showrunner last night or a couple nights ago about putting on a show somewhere and a theater production, and like I want to provide, you know, as we're discussing price of tickets and contract and stuff, what I did at the McPherson was provide a code for like the Alzheimer's Society so that the staff could come for a lesser price, and so that, and any people like any of my peers could come with their partners or not for a fun night out. So they got like $10 off or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, you know, I want to do that as much as I can. You know, there's a lot of, I go to a support group myself here in Courtney, and there's it's like being a musician or being a comic, being the partner of somebody with dementia. You really do meet at a different level. You know, you can start at 8. You don't have to start at 0 in the depths of your conversations because people are already on the same level with you. And that's very comforting, and it's a lot easier, you know, because yeah, people for the most part, you know, I mean, like anything else, if you don't live it, you don't really get it, right? So, and people with dementia, my husband included, are pretty good at faking. You know, they muddle through. It's and people don't think he, has it, or it doesn't seem that bad or whatever. And then he loses his phone and I can't find mine.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
that material about that is brand new. I've been working on that just recently, and I started working on it just for the McPherson show because I wanted to do that in a big audience. Yeah. So it's interesting for me to get your feedback on it because it was a lot for me to say, because there's of course this balance of not what we call in comedy is punching down. Like you don't make jokes about anybody less powerful than yourself.
right, right.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense.
And so for me, I'm pretty down on society's food chain being, 64 and a woman, I'm not the most powerful person on the food chain, but a person with dementia would be even perceived as more vulnerable than myself, right? And so it's very important that I only speak to, my difficulties with Ron having dementia and
Right.
make myself out to be the asshole, as
Yeah.
as opposed to anything else. Yeah.
That make
Yeah.
there was a moment too, and I remember this, and I hope I'm remembering it at the right spot. That and I you made mention, and I don't remember exactly what, but about that your husband is living with dementia, and there was this collective in the
Mhm.
and you were so I will remember this that
Mm.
you very quickly it was there was you stopped it. That's the short story. Let me get there so you're not wondering what the hell I'm talking about. You stopped
Mm.
it. You said, yeah, no, don't do that. Or something like that. You had a beautiful way of addressing that. And
Mm.
as a person watching it and
Mm.
understanding, I've spent, I write and I've been like whatever, so I've been in front of people sharing hard stuff. That's and that collective thing can just, oh my God, like I'm just trying to talk here without crying, can you just cut me some slack? But
That's exactly it. Yeah.
I kind of I sort of recognize that, but the other part of it too is that
Mm.
there's a way, this for me anyway, and I maybe I'm putting something on you that you're not, but there's an empowerment that you were standing in your power of, I'm trying not to use all these like lingos, right? Because I don't know what other words to use, but there was a way that you were standing, and it was for not, it was for you, it was for Ron, your family, and a whole bunch of other families that are
Mm.
experiencing it, and you were sharing it, and then we're going to go on and we're going to find some way to get through this and breathe and laugh and be okay tonight. And
I'll have to watch the video, Ali, because I'm curious to know that point. I don't recall it specifically, but I do recall, it used to happen when I talked about having just had breast cancer, and people, there was the collective, and then um, sometimes people applaud, and it's still like even now speaking to it,
yeah,
upsets me. So I've jostled the order of the joke so that when people say something about, what they applaud that I'd survived breast cancer, I have a joke now that can bring everybody back into, and I can not cry, right? Because it was shitty, it was hard and scary. And so I have a joke now that if that shenanigans goes on with the audience, I can bring them back up with
right.
me and assure them that I'm okay and I'm still writing jokes about it. So it's okay, you guys, you don't have
Yeah.
to do that. Um, and so it was a joke I had anyway, but I've moved it to use it just in case people do that. So the dementia stuff is so new that I'm not sure what to do when there's the collective concern. You said that I did something that worked, and I'll have to watch the video,
Yeah, it was very
because
quick.
that was the biggest audience I'd done that material with.
Uh-huh.
I've been using it only for a few months. I'm trying to
Oh,
do
okay.
smaller shows, so I can feel how it comes out and everything. Um, yeah, the main thing about comedy is to make people laugh. Like you might have a message, but they'll get it, but mostly you want people just to laugh,
Right.
because that is truly our job. We're not messengers, I don't think anyway.
Right.
They'll hear something and they'll remember something and they'll be impacted by it because they were able to hear it because it was funny and easy to hear, right? Any presenter
Yes.
knows that comedic presentations are far more impactful and memorable than lectures and PowerPoints and things, right?
Right, right. Yeah, you remember, I think that as human beings, we remember what we connect to because we're wired that way, right? I want to know, I think we want to feel connected to someone. I want to understand what you're talking about. I want to relate to it in some way, however that
Yeah.
all works. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just thought it was awesome. And to be clear, it wasn't when you said, "Well, don't go." I don't remember because I have memory things, right? So I don't know exactly how it was, but it was pretty clear to me that you're going to make sure we're steering this ship a different way. Thank you for your thoughts, but we're going
Okay.
we're not staying there. We're
Okay.
going on.
Yeah.
But it was pretty for me, anyways. That's how I experienced it. I can't say what anybody else did, but I thought you handled it incredibly
Thank you.
well. Yeah, it
Thank you.
was. Yeah.
It's it's I mean, for people that don't do comedy, could you imagine that happening in front of 300 people? That's as you're saying that, I'm thinking, wow, good for me.
I know.
I don't
You're
remember what it
rock.
was, but I'll have to watch the video. Yeah. Yeah, no, I did not want to go down that path because it's all just too hard still. I mean, it's going to be even getting harder, but I'm happy that I've written some new jokes and I'm happy that they're working
Yeah.
and that people like yourself are noticing and appreciating. So that's good. I'm happy with that. But then there's the stupid stuff about 11 buckets, like let's not get too full of ourselves here.
11 buckets are great.
Oh my
I don't even
God.
know the joke yet, but I just know already that I'm
Oh,
gonna.
it's so stupid. It's just stupid. But I was, what brought, we were talking about technique and audience and stuff and adapting. So the Waverly, I did 11 buckets and it went great. And then I did it somewhere else and it just, it was really mediocre. And, and all I can do is as an artist, as a technician of the art, I'm trying to figure out why did it work one place and not the other.
Ah, okay.
That's what I now have to take away. So I record almost all of my sets unless I forget on my phone on just audio recording. And
Oh,
then I can hear where the audience laughs and where they don't and how I delivered a joke and where it worked and where it didn't and try to figure out
okay.
why. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, recording things and hearing back and thinking something
Mhm.
was quite magnificent at the time, and then later going, wah, wah, not so much. But or oh
Painful.
my gosh, that was better. But it was funny. I was thinking about this. I was going to mention this. You were talking earlier about, uh, having a recent gig, maybe last night, that people had said that it had gone well, but it didn't feel like that for you. And I was thinking of that, like for me, I can say for me, I remember, and my girlfriend who actually came with me to to your show that night, she's Auntie Kate and the Uncles of Funk is her band. And we talk about this all. So when you see her going up and down town, she would up and down the island, go and see her. She'd love to say hi to you and come and see her.
Who is
But
she again? Auntie Kate?
Auntie Kate and the Uncles of Funk.
Kate?
Yeah, Auntie Kate
Okay.
and the Uncles of Funk. But her and
Okay.
I have talked about this a lot and I'm going to guess that it could go very much the same with comedy, but I may be wrong and you can let me know. So at the end of a night and sometimes the end of a night and you could be thinking that went quite wonderful and maybe it didn't really so much for everybody else. I'm not really sure, but we have both talked about when we've had some of our crappiest nights ever, just thought everything sucked. Everything that I did was just like, and then people will come up and go, "Oh my gosh, that was so awesome." And what I said to her is, I'm like, "Yeah, how do I even trust you people? Like, do you have no ears?
Yeah.
You're not." And so sometimes I think it's, and you were, mentioning that, people they had a really good time. And so I'm not always, there's something about us, you know, humans in general, and performers is another thing, is that we're not always the best judge of what just went down, because what really is important is what went down with the audience, right? How did they experience that? And so if sometimes, I don't know how I think comedy probably is a very different response, right? Because they're laughing or they're not. But
Yeah, that's true.
right,
Yeah, that's true. It's fairly evident.
it is fairly evident, right? Whereas when you're singing and there's a band and it's loud, and half the time people are talking through it anyways, and sometimes they're not. So it's got its own little fun things and not so fun things. But there's a way that it's, you just never know where somebody else is at, and somebody could connect with that so much because that's what they really needed that night. And so maybe you know, maybe sometimes when we're feeling like that didn't go well, it might have been where I might have been tired, or it might have been where I was at in my head. But what really matters, it landed with that person or those people. I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know if
That's
there's a question in that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. And then it's the size of the room and how packed or not packed the audience is and with each other. It's a whole bunch of variables. But again, as an artist, you have to learn how to adapt to that scenario. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, I think we're probably our own worst critics. And then like in on Facebook and stuff, comics will say things like you know, how people's other comics will come off the stage and say, "Oh, I killed, you know, I slayed, I did great," and then they will have watched it and thought that wasn't great, you know. But and then the comic thinks that they were great, but another person watching doesn't. And so then I'm thinking, what do I know? Like I can't trust myself at all if I come off. I think that I'm wondering if this is true or not, but like there's been times, and as a musician, you may have had this experience too. There's could have been times that I've walked off the stage and I'm like my knees are shaking, like it was like so fun and so good, like with the connection with the audience. So maybe that's the only way to be sure, but maybe even that is faulty. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I just work here, man. But you know, in terms of finding joy, I mean, not everybody's going to have the opportunity to get on stage and do stuff. I feel like, you know, I sometimes well, I mean, I just got off that tour of the island that ended with the McPherson show, and it's International Women's Day is a good month for me. It's a good month of work for me, and I come home and you know I do my laundry and getting my taxes sorted.
Rock star living, rock star living.
The rock star lifestyle that I lead, and anyway, I just you know I guess if anything I'd like to say to people like whatever you can do to find your joy, pursue it. One thing is that like nobody hands me anything, nobody hands you anything. Like we have to go out and figure out how to do all this fun stuff that makes us happy. You know, years and years ago there was a poem that only part of it said, um, "Don't wait for someone to bring you flowers, plant your own garden." And that really, I think that really has guided me a lot. Also, my parents they had a lot of fun. They did a lot of fun stuff, and it was a priority for them. Not to the point of not taking responsibilities at all, but that you know, as a family value, fun was up there for us. And although artistic talent was never a topic of discussion, like our household wasn't musical or nobody was into theater or anything or performing. other than like high school stuff and what have you. So, it's not like I grew up with, a bunch of comics, to mentor me. But, so, if it's knitting or if it, if you can't get out or if it's something, I feel like the key is being creative and finishing a project, like finishing something, like, when I don't know if you have children, but when you have children, you're never finished, eh? Like it just goes on and on and on forever till you die.
No, it's
But
grandchildren. It just
yeah, it just keeps on going, and you never really finished anything when you have a house of children and with children in it. And but at this stage of my life, yeah, I've been home now for a week and I'm like, oh man, I got to get back on the road. Like I get niggly, I get like, I want to get going. I want to do some stuff. And so in terms of finding joy, whatever it is, if I feel like, I think that those are the sort of two variables there is creative and being able to complete it. It feels really good.
yeah.
If it's knitting a project or, this
Like,
stuff.
look at that. Well, I know if for the people who are listening, you won't be able to see this, but if you could go and find the video, Syd's sister is crochet, like just, oh my gosh, talk about art on the wall there, a mandala or whatever that is called. It
Yeah.
is so beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. I'll have to make sure she sees this so that she feels good about her art being
Yeah,
on.
well, it gave her joy making it. It's given me joy looking at it. So it's
Yeah, it's pretty
beautiful.
cool, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah. There's two there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the carving above it with the feather, my day job is that I train facilitators for like I don't do this very much anymore, but I was a family support worker where I facilitated support groups for parents. And then I also train new facilitators. And one of the trainees gave me that carving. Her husband did it, and the feather was in their
The top
family.
one is a carved feather?
No, that's not a carved. The top one is a carved feather. I'll get
Yes,
it.
that's what I'm saying. The top is not a feather?
No.
Oh my God. I can't see, look at my eyes. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah. And do you know the artist's name by chance?
Wes Walkus.
Oh, a Walkus. Ah, okay.
Yeah, Wes Walkus. And so this is it. And then they've attached an eagle feather
It's
to it.
gorgeous. The Walkus family are they're well, I mean, I don't know but I know Walkus is from up Port Hardy way, so
Well, that's exactly where they would be. Yeah, I
okay.
think anyway. And so anyway, that that was given to me by Mr. Walkus's wife, who was in the training with me as a participant, and she gave it to me, telling me that she likes to give an eagle feather to people that she felt particularly connected to, and yeah, that sort of deep connection, and of the training of whatever 25 people in the room after a week of training, she and her husband gave me that, and I was so touched and so moved, and you just don't know the impact that you're going to have on people. What matters to them, right? What matters to them, what you said or did, how you said or did it, that makes them able to I don't know, just be in the space and appreciate something, learn from you and whatever. So
Yeah.
being doing comedy is I mean, it's, as an artist, it's very rewarding and challenging, but it's also like having conversations like you after the show, or this happens to me a lot, and I laugh because women are so different alone, right? Like I mean, at that show, there was 316 tickets sold, and I think probably 300 of them were women, right? And I had this woman come to me at the, where I was selling my merch, and she told me that she just, she'd had breast cancer, and she was telling me about having her breasts made had a double mastectomy, so she had breasts made up out of the fat from her stomach, and that she had what was it? What was it? It was she had like one hair, or it was a stretch mark. A stretch mark from her stomach is now on her breast. Just killed me, man. And she's standing at the merch table, showing me her breast, like not, holding on to
Yeah,
her
I get
breast,
it.
talking about them. And I thought that was so funny, and it's delightful, and I love it that people do it. And I just don't know that men would come up and
Right.
talk to another comic about their prostate cancers.
I was just thinking that.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
I know, but women are so cool. Women are a lot of fun, a lot of fun, a lot of big conversations with people that you hardly know. It's great fun. I love it so much. Yeah, it's a big part of it. But yeah, it's, I'm not out to save the world. I just want to have fun too. But this is such a perk, right? That people have these conversations with me. It makes me laugh so much. I had one man, he leaned into me because I talk about incontinence, right? And he leans into me after the show, and I'm a little bit, like, what is he doing, right? And he tells me that, he said, "Don't tell my wife I told you, but she peed herself quite a bit through your show." I'm like, dude, I don't know that you should have told me that. Because now I'm
He's
telling
okay
everybody.
sharing, but just not about himself.
Yeah, he's sharing, but not about himself. And then, of course, his wife comes from the bathroom, and she's like, "Oh, I paid myself," and she's, she loves it, right? And he's like trying to be discreet about it and everything. So funny.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I like my tagline, "Bring your friends and your panty liners." I think that's a funny tagline.
It is awesome. It's so funny.
Yeah.
And it's actually true. So
Yeah.
And she's not even lying.
Yeah, not even lying.
Not even lying. Oh my gosh. That I could thank you. I mean, I could sit here for days and talk to you. I'm can't if there wasn't that restraining order. No, but it's but we're allowed to do this, right? So no, but thank you. Thank you so much. Like you're
my pleasure.
You're a treasure, that's for sure. You're a treasure.
Thanks.
And I appreciate your time. I appreciate your wisdom and your humor and yeah, I appreciate you and thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome, Allie. Thanks so much for approaching me. I'm so glad you did.
I was trembling.
Oh, bullshit.
Big time, baby. No, it was awesome. It was great. And so thank you so much. And to our listeners, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. It's been a treat. And as always, find your joy. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you found a piece of your joy in this episode, I would love to hear about what came up for you so that we can continue to grow the impact of this show. Thanks again. See you soon. And remember, find your joy.